Good morning, huddlers. Today is Money Monday, and you know money starts with the letter M. So we have someone whose favorite letter in the alphabet is the letter M. Her name is Monikah, Dr. Monikah Ogando. So welcome to the Daily Huddle. Today is all about the M word, make, as in making money. Before we begin, I have a quote for you. Every day is a bank account. Everybody's got 24 hours. So no one is rich. No one is poor. We've each got 24 hours. In the context of making money, wealth and prosperity is accessible to all. Let's go. Oh my God, you are right, Monikah. Last week was the letter M, make. This week is the letter M for manage.
It's just that we can never make, we always want to make more. So
yeah,
we are more
I
episodes.
I know. Well, today's all going to be about managing the money you make. Mm-hmm. Welcome to the Daily Huddle. And to get us firmly planted here and now, I have a couple of reminder questions for you. And I'm starting with my very good friend, Andrea Villa. Mm-hmm. Andrea, good morning.
Good morning, Terrell.
Where are you, Andrea?
I am right here, the only place I'm supposed to be.
You know, we say that every morning on the Daily Huddle. And like something you say all the time, it might become rote, routine, familiar. I want you to pause right now and really get that you can only be here and nowhere else.
Yeah.
So Stacy, what time is it, my friend?
The time is now, the only time that I have full mastery of.
Mm. You are here. The time is now. And in this moment of now, you have the power to say how you are. So Dr. Monikah Ogando, how are you?
I am the way that I say that I am. And today that is very excited that I get to spend time with you all on the Monday version of the Daily Huddle. I'm excited.
Welcome, welcome. Well, folks, in the context of making and managing your money, today we're focusing on managing your money. And this series is the access to two separate courses, one designed for men, one designed for women, that Dr. Monikah Ogando will be launching in what date exactly, Dr. Monikah?
We start on the equinox, on the fall equinox, September 20th. So that'll be for all of us to join in.
And there's a waiting list that is accumulating good folks just like you, looking to participate. Men will be participating in Men, Money, and Mastery.
Yeah.
And women will be participating in Wealth.
Women, Wealth, and
Worthiness. On the equinox, and you can put yourself on the waiting list right now at monikahogando.com/waitlist. Now, I just want you to get a sense of who will be leading this course. For those of you who know Dr. Monikah, you will love her. And for those of you who don't know her, I promise you, you're going to get every bit that you need to get out of participating in a conversation with her. So Dr. Monikah is the CEO and founder of the award-winning firm CEO Mastery, an executive and leadership development firm working with exceptional leaders just like you who want to elevate brand position, engage their people, and increase profits while honoring their true purpose. Now, what else do you want? Well, you will be discovering what else you want out of your participation as you master the art of making, managing, multiplying, ministering your money, and creating around you a mastermind that will carry you through the fulfillment of your legacy. So today I have the honor of having my friend and my sister with me. Her name is Dr. Monikah Ogando. Dr. Ogando, speak to us.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Remind me where to send the check, because that deserves some payment. Speaking of managing money, right? So one of the things that I love about stacking these wealth pillars on top of one another is that when you start to look at how the human body is organized biologically and energetically, then it makes sense why we would want our wealth and anything that we create to be organized in the same way. It feels natural, it feels complete, it feels aligned, it feels congruent. And in the same way, just as we do a lot of work inside of Men, Money, and Mastery, and inside of Women, Wealth, and Worthiness with our chakras. Chakras are energy centers inside of our bodies, just like you have carbon-based organs, right? We're a carbon-based organism. In the same way, we also have energy-based organisms. In fact, I always say that the first language that human beings ever speak is energy. Before an infant knows that mommy is saying, I love you, they feel skin to skin contact. They feel themselves welcomed into the world. They know if the pregnancy or the birth or the labor was stressful, then energetically they feel like the world is dangerous. And in the same way, we carry a lot of that energetic imprint in how we approach anything, how we approach relationships, how we approach self-esteem, and how we approach the metrics of our worth and the metrics of our success in the world, including money.
So in other words, we're always communicating something.
Right, exactly. So with the manage money pillar, in the same way as your chakras are organized, lower element, higher element, in the lower element, you have the root chakra, which is kind of how you stay grounded and how you assert your existence in the world with the making money. Then with the manage money, that goes up to the sacral chakra. And it's where you set yourself up to reproduce yourself. Set yourself up to set up systems that duplicate your efforts, because you can't be everywhere at once physically, but you can be everywhere you need to be with your energy, with your money. And money is simply energy in circulation. And when you manage money, what you're saying is that the things that go underneath the wealth pillar of managing is, for example, your budget, your credit score, your savings, the bills that you pay, the expenses that you take care of, the taxes that you pay from the money that comes in, your income, and how you save money to make sure that you're not overspending, to make sure that you're not being wasteful, et cetera, et cetera. So if you notice in your body, in your organism, pretty much everything that you have, you need. You might have a couple of vestigial organs here and there, and you might have to take out your wisdom teeth or, like that, right? But for the most part, everything you got, you need.
You might have to take off your hair too.
Well, some people, yes, some people. But if you don't have it, it's because you don't need it, right? So there's this piece of, for example, the reason Monikah has hair versus the reason Sorrel does not is because Monikah needs her hair and Sorrel does not need his, right? But also, Monikah does not need facial hair and Sorrel does. So it evens out, right? And in the same way, with our money, we may not necessarily need, we don't need money necessarily for like a boat in the Maldives. that Beyonce probably does, right? And then we start getting into the conversation of what is a need versus what is a desire. And this is where managing money really starts getting nuanced in this distinction. Because again, this is, and Sorrel, you know me, you know I like to nerd out on certain concepts and distinctions. And
Come on, nerd out right now.
So when I am in this class in Women, Wealth and Worthiness and in Men, Money and Mastery, we really do delve into what it means to live in a capitalistic society that celebrates accumulation versus aggregation.
Now, say that again. Accumulation.
We live in a society that celebrates accumulation versus aggregation. And here's what I mean by that. Accumulation is you get more and you fight for more and you work for more than what you need. And and more than what you want. So we encourage people, for example, to save millions of dollars for retirement, because the time will come when you're no longer going to be active in the labor force and you're still going to need to pay your bills and move around, et cetera. So you save some money for retirement. But that assumes that we still live in the industrial world, in the industrial revolution, where human beings are seen as cogs in a wheel. And then when you waste the cog, or when it's no longer effective, when it has oxidized beyond usefulness, then we take it out and replace it with another cog in the wheel. Yeah. So then when you're just a cog in the wheel and we toss you because you're no longer useful, well, you still have life in you. And so we've developed, government programs such as Social Security and Medicare, et cetera, to take care of the cogs in the wheel that are no longer useful. But do you see how that denies our humanity? Because there are cultures, particularly Afro and indigenous cultures, that understand that the older you are, the more useful you become, because you have institutional history, you have wisdom to pass down. You are not useless as you get older, you are more useful. And so there's this aggregation of resources that happen from the community, from your individual or nuclear family, to support you and to honor you and to reward you for all the work that you've put in from the times that you were a cog in the wheel. And so when you manage money from a place of aggregation, then you do it for the collective good, you do it for your own individual success, of course.
Yeah,
with a
Dr.
longer
Monikah,
horizon.
spend a moment to actually unpack aggregation, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 features of what life looks like when you are an aggregator versus an accumulator.
Yeah, right. So as I was explaining, one of the big differences is how we treat retirement. So retirement isn't about, I am no longer useful in the workforce, therefore I'm just going to go sit at a beach somewhere and enjoy the fruits of my labor because I've worked so hard and I've accumulated my little nuts for a rainy day kind of thing.
I've squirreled it really well.
Yeah, exactly. Versus aggregators, it's not like we don't have retirement, but retirement is useful for something else. It's useful to celebrate and pass along our wisdom. So an aggregator mentors and volunteers and babysits their grandchildren, and sometimes starts a second, third, fourth, fifth career. We are no longer living in a society where you go to school and you get out and you get a job and you're in that job for 40 years. And when you retire, then you go, do whatever it is that you wanted to do that you couldn't do when you were younger. Now, especially with Gen Z and younger generations, they're like, listen, if I'm not happy,
I'm out of
here. Right. And I don't give a damn if you offer me, perks and benefits and salary this and salary that. If you're denying my humanity, that's not going to work anymore. Yeah. And so as an aggregator, you want to not only manage your money with a longer horizon that isn't just about the immediate survival mechanism of paying bills and putting money away for a rainy day, although I do encourage that, but there's a way to do that. And we'll talk about it in the multiply your money section. But it's now with a bigger why. Now it's with the why of honoring my own humanity. And there's a Bible quote that I like to, or a Bible phrase that I like to quote that says, your gift will make room for you and bring you in the presence of great men. However, as most things with the Bible, it was mistranslated. And the original said that your gift will make room for you and access the greatness of others. So it's kind of like what Marianne Williamson was quoted as saying, who are you to not be amazing, right? When you're living into your purpose, you create permission for others to do the same. It's the same feel, right? So when you're managing your money and you're being responsible and you're paying your bills and you have your neck and head above water and you're beyond the survival conversation, there are people that are watching you, your children, your family, etc. But also there are people that you are meant to serve that you wouldn't be available to serve if you're distracted by your own survival. If you're so busy trying to put food on the table, trying to keep a roof over your head, trying to make sure that you're keeping up with the Joneses, because there is such a thing as lifestyle inflation. Sometimes the more money we make, the more money that we spend trying to keep up with that lifestyle. And so when you can decide that you're going to manage money in a way that you have a longer horizon, and that you're going to set yourself up to multiply and minister and then later mastermind with your money, which again, we'll get into in future Mondays, then you can not only access your gifts, but create permission and create access for others to do the same.
There's a big difference between making money because you're coming from the mindset that you are a cog in the wheel. So what I'm discovering, Dr. Monikah, is that being a cog in the wheel isn't something that the world imposes on us. Sometimes we adopt that mindset and we behave like that throughout our entire life, from the beginning all the way to the end at retirement. So what you're pointing to is that there is a way to manage money that comes from a different mindset, the mindset of an aggregator and not an accumulator.
Right. And what the value of that is that then you are creating your money moves based on your values and not based in reaction to, because you say, we create those thoughts, right? Yes, that is true. We choose those thoughts from a place of let's go along to get along. This must be how it's done. We saw it in the way that we were raised. We saw it in the way that, the media talks about what's valuable and what's successful and the metrics that we use. Like if you're really successful, you drive this car, you look like this, and you are concerned about these other things, etc. So those messages get into our subconscious and we live from there, not knowing that we're making those choices. And then when you get aware enough, when you make the unconscious conscious, as Carl Jung says, then you can make different choices. Otherwise, if you don't make the unconscious conscious, you live into its inevitability and call it fate, not knowing that you're making decisions on an unconscious level. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, that makes sense. And, this is profound. And the one thing I'd love for you to address is this notion that people who are listening right now and are discovering, like me, that, oh my God, I have been living from the accumulator context, right? Could be making being an accumulator wrong. Right. In your view, is there a right way or a wrong way to be living in the world of managing your money? Can you make that distinction and, give us a little bit of freedom? Because, man, I want to accumulate some change here.
Well, I talk a lot in my first book, On Fire. I talk about the bear cycle. And so I'm going to give this to you really quickly. Anybody that has pen and paper, you can do this really quickly because it's not going to require advanced drawing skills. You draw a circle, and at the 3 o'clock level, wherever the 3 o'clock is for you, you put the letter A. Then at the 6 o'clock level, you put the letter R. And on the 9 o'clock, you put the letter E, okay? So what does that spell, Sorrel? A-R-E?
A-R-E, R.
R, right. And so a lot of times we think if we take a certain action, that's what the A stands for. If we take a certain action, it'll generate a particular result. That's what the R stands for. And that result will generate a particular experience, right? That's what the E stands for. So action yields results, results yield experience. But here's what we're missing. There's a reason why there's somebody that takes certain action, like I'm going to eat this food and I'm going to do these exercises and I'm going to sleep this, like I'm going to drink a gallon of water and blah, blah, blah. But they don't yield the result of losing weight and getting fit. And so they experience frustration. They experience like, this doesn't really work. This is not for me. I'm supposed to be fat forever, et cetera, et cetera. And they have a lot of thoughts and feelings about that experience. But the thing that we have, no problem. But the reason why we have, what we're missing is the B at the top, at the 12 o'clock position. So instead of R, we have a bear cycle, B-A-R-E. And I want you to notice that the belief is inversely proportional to the result, not the action and not the experience. So if you believe that what you do doesn't work, if you believe that you tried 1,000 things and this is just another thing that's going to result in failure, then that's what you're going to produce at the result level from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. And that's why it's so important to organize your mind in your come from. I say to people, when you choose a different come from, you get a different outcome. Because out of that belief, when you take those actions, you're bringing that level of energy to it. Belief is really just, energy introduced into your kinetic application of that belief. So that's why sometimes you don't even have to do a lot in terms of action, because your belief, the energy behind it, the conviction behind it is what's generating the results. That's why sometimes there are some people that can do very little. And because they identify, their belief is I'm fit or I'm skinny or I'm healthy or et cetera, et cetera. So I don't have to do a lot to be remedial because I'm already there. And the same thing with our money. When you come from a place of lack, when you come from a place of there's not enough to go around and I have to work really hard in order to get it, if that's the belief that's going to inform your actions, then the results are going to be that you have more month left at the end of your money. And you're trying to figure out little techniques and little tricks to be able to offset what you already started in your mind with your beliefs and with your convictions. So here's something that I want you to try. Sorrel knows this about me, that I always like to give people exercises and homework assignments, because I think we learn a lot by embodying the wisdom and working it and practicing it and executing it instead of just thinking and talking about it. So here's something that I want you to try. I want you to look at the last 90 days, let's say, of movement, wherever you move your cash the most. It could be your checking account, it could be, your PayPal account or whatever. Wherever you move your money the most, I want you to look at the last 90 days of movement. And then I want you to look at where you're spending that money. You may be spending it on necessities, like I have to pay the rent or the mortgage or, electricity or groceries, et cetera, et cetera. You may just be spending it on necessities, or you may be spending it on necessities and the stuff that helps you to think that you're worthy. So for some of us, that may be extra food, that may be travel, it may be shopping, retail therapy. How many of us love retail therapy? It may be lending money out to loved ones, because that helps us to feel a sense of connection. So just look, you don't have to do anything. Just the act of observation is enough to edit our behavior. So when you take the last 90 days of wherever you spend the most money and just look at any patterns that you might notice. Where am I spending the most money? How often? And how do I feel when I spend that money? How do I feel when the money comes in? Just observe all of that, because it will allow you to recognize where you're making decisions from. And then once you're aware, you can choose differently.
Well, what is waking up where you are? regarding managing your money. Ronald, go ahead.
Man, this is great. Monikah, you're wearing a lot of hat and dirty huddle now. I mean, because you know, when you pack this, because I'm packing this with the few conversations we've had last week regarding personal, I mean, the astrology thing, and really packing that individually, you know, with the general that you're offering right now.
Yeah.
It's very general, and everybody can find themselves on that. So it's really, I guess it's more of a comment that I have is really connect this information with the individual aspect of what you were sharing last week. So that's like basically put a lot of homework into to me, pretty much, you know, like, you know, the last 90 days, you know, what do you do with your money? And what I'm discovering is like, yeah, I guess I've spent a lot of money in things that's really relate to my worthiness, as opposed to, you know, like the other day I had a friend of mine who was saying, do you ever stop partying? So it's like, you know, they found me in several party. I traveled a bit very a lot in the last 90 days. So and I'm about embarking another trip. So it's like, wait a minute, is that really what's happening there?
Yeah.
So thanks for that sharing this morning.
Absolutely.
And I'm packing, like I said, I'm unpacking it with all that you've been sharing before.
Yeah.
You know, from the individual aspect of astrology and all that. So
Hey, Ronald,
go for it.
I have a bold request to make of you.
Uh-oh.
And I'm making that request of Ronald. See, I know Ronald really well, and I get to make that request so I can make it to each and every one of us. You know, there is listening to Dr. Monikah and then being mesmerized by what is a wealth of knowledge, a wealth of experience, and the expertise of a seasoned consultant who can get you from A to B guaranteed. There's that, and then there's actually taking an action that makes a difference in that context. And that action, Ronald, is putting yourself on the waiting list. So my question to you is, are you on the waiting list?
Ooh, if you can't say amen, say ouch.
What waiting list? That's the first thing I need to ask you first.
Well, I just posted a link in the chat. That link is the link to Dr. Monikah Ogando's program that starts on the equinox.
Well, it's the wait list, right? So it's like for people who want to find out more about it. And we do have a surprise coming up. I'm not going to tell you what it is, but we do have a surprise coming up in the next couple of weeks. So you want to get on the wait list so you'll be the first to hear about it.
Okay.
Now, being on the waiting list could be like I'm on the waiting list waiting to hear something. I'm inviting everyone who's listening to go on the waiting list with a commitment. The commitment to actually, as a man, to master your money. As a woman, to create worthiness and wealth. And as couples, to actually put those two together and create a legacy that goes beyond what you can imagine now. Now you can dream about it.
Yeah.
But there is actually taking an action. And on Money Monday, I explicitly brought Dr. Monikah on. And we explicitly created, Andrea and myself, the program to give you the tools. The two go hand in hand. So the action we need to take right now is to actually put our butts in the seat and actually practice this. We can talk about making money, managing money, all we want. We can talk about multiplying it and ministering with it all we want. But unless you're practicing, you're missing the boat. This is an invitation to practice, a committed invitation.
Absolutely. And the advantage of that, you know, sometimes people say, oh, I'm stuck, or I don't know what to do. I don't know what the next move is, etc. But if you notice, not knowing what the next move is or feeling stuck is just lack of movement. So then what would be the solution to lack of movement? It would be movement, right? And so when you make a move, when you take a step, the next step is revealed. I always kind of liken it to, Imagine that you're making a road trip from, let's say, Miami, Florida, right? One of the southernmost tips of the country, to Boston. Let's say Boston, right? You'd have to get on 95 for a long time to get to Boston, right? But before you can get on 95, depending on where you are in Miami, I used to live in Miami for like 16 years, so I'm familiar with the roads. You have to get on US 1. But on US 1, if you're driving, you're like, this doesn't look like Boston. No, not yet. You have to keep going. So it's the same thing with our wealth building strategy, is that there are some places where you're going to have to get past this block and that block and turn here and keep going and gas up, so that eventually you get to the destination that you've said that you wanted to go to. It's the same thing, but you do have to press the gas pedal. You do have to go.
Absolutely. And in this case, you actually just have to get in the car.
Yeah.
And getting in the car in this context is putting yourself on the waiting list. Now, some of you may be thinking, because the brain works that way, why is Sorrel harping on this so much this morning? Well, I know how I am. And left to my own devices, I'll wait until the very day before the program begins to get on the waiting list. No, get in the car right now. Monikah, it's 31 after. What is your final thought for the day?
Well, I just want to share with everybody that wealth is a figure-outable puzzle. And it has a lot to do with who you say that you are and the imprint that you want to leave in the world. Yesterday, I went to Home Depot because I want to create an island in my kitchen. And the guy was asking me what I want. What are the pieces that are like, you have to have that. It's a sine qua non. If you don't have that, might as well not get an island. And I did have some non-negotiables. So I want you to think about, what are the non-negotiables that I want my money to be able to do for me? And then you create your wealth around that. That's why we start with make, and then we follow up with manage, because we want to get those non-negotiables handled so that then we can build on that foundation.
Perfect, perfect. And a few of the non-negotiables here on the Daily Huddle are the tenets.
Ah, yes.
Bestowed upon us by Patty Dabrowski, my good friend. And the first is to love. You know, there's a certain kind of distraction that you pointed to earlier. When you're not making and managing money effectively, it's likely that you cannot love. Laugh. When you're not making money and managing it effectively, you know that kind of laugh you have and you know it's fake?
Yes.
Right. You know, those belly laughs may not be accessible to you.
It's true.
So love, laugh, stress less, eat mostly plant-based. My good friend Giovanni Gonzalez, if you're listening to this, I know where you are. Practice what you preach, brother. Eat the trees.
Oh, that's good.
And give, sleep, and last but not least, shake what your mama gave you.
Okay, come on.
Dr. Monikah, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
That's right.
This is your Daily Huddle. We'll be here tomorrow with Roland and Vince with Health Matters. See you then.
Bye, everybody.